Welcome back. Now we're still looking at Nigeria 2015, but now our focus is on the Niger Delta. And it's our great pleasure to welcome the essay to the President on Niger Delta, Mr. Kingsley Kuku.
Thank you so much.
Whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
And happy Valentine. You've
also
got hearts
wish you-
all over you. So today you're just loving and loving and loving Nigeria and everybody.
Yes, I love this country and I love everyone. I want to wish all of you happy Valentine and all the viewers happy Valentine.
Good of you to join us.
You have a lot of names on your chest. I am K3, I am Val.
Yeah, K3 is
Peace,
just
I am Harmony.
initials.
I like the
Initials
other
of my
part. I
family.
am Harmony, I am Peace.
Yes, I'm Peace, I'm Harmony, I'm
And you're
Tranquility,
Kingsley.
I'm Victory.
Your Victory too.
Yeah, Victory for Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us this
Thank you.
morning. Of course, when it comes to the Niger Delta, the major talking point has been words coming out that the Niger Delta people have said that if President Jonathan does not win the coming election, that this country is going to burn. I mean, is there any truth in that statement?
Well, I want to thank you and also to state very clearly that that story is so incorrect. It never happened.
Sorry, what never happened? The meeting or the statement?
The story.
Did the meeting hold?
resolutions- Yeah, the meeting held. I was instrumental to that meeting. I consulted the governor of Bayelsa, Right Honorable Saraki Dixon, and we convened a meeting of all ex-agitators and youth leaders from the Niger Delta. And this was in response to growing concerns and restiveness in the region that was brewing as a result of the attack on the president's campaign train in Katsina, in Bauchi, in Gombe. And it became very vital, knowing fully well that there was a particular incident that occurred in Gombe State. A young boy was seen pasting President Goodluck Jonathan's posters in Gombe, and 2 fingers of that young man were chopped off in Gombe. It created so much tension in the Niger Delta. And I have struggled since 2011 to keep this fragile peace in the Niger Delta. We've kept the security situation in the Niger Delta a bit stable, so it was instrumental that we held a meeting with Tom Polo, everybody in attendance. For 4 years, from January 2011 that I was appointed by Mr. President, that was the very first time I was bringing everybody together. And the governor of Bayelsa decided to host that meeting. People can have personal views. They can address media and say certain things that might be unbecoming. But the resolution of the meeting, I read on behalf of the governor, the deputy governor, a former general of the Nigerian Army, the deputy governor to the governor was there. Cabinet members of the State Executive Council of the government of Bayelsa State were there. Prominent Nigerians were there. There was never a resolution saying that if President Jonathan loses an election, God forbid, because I know he's not going to lose, he's going to win, that Nigeria will no longer be the same or there will be war in the country. It's not possible. We never said that. I was in that meeting. So I'm amazed that every time I keep defending this, at some point when even respectable leaders and people who have committed themselves to the peace and security of this country, like General Danjuma, even had to make a comment. I tried personally to reach out to him, to even explain to him, because I do believe that when people like that make statements, like General Olusegun Obasanjo, General Danjuma, and others who have historically contributed to the development and peace of this country, you do not need to join issues with them, even when it affects you. You need to privately try as much as you can to reach out and explain. I still would not mind to lead a few of the Niger Delta youth leaders to explain this to people who still have growing concerns. I am particularly perturbed that a section of the Nigerian media, even when you explain this every time, even daily, they keep hammering on it because politically it favors to be heard. That is what Niger Delta people are saying, just to blackmail us and blackmail Mr. President.
Mr. Kuku,
It never happened.
I'm sure if you were in the shoes of other Nigerians, you would be concerned. I mean, prior to the elections, there were reports about acquisitions of certain weapons or machinery. I mean, water machineries, warships to be precise. I mean, If you were a Nigerian
By
outside of
who?
that region,
By who? Who bought that?
by okay, the report says they're bought by Tom Polo.
It's
So,
the same thing I'm telling you.
so
There
the
is an
question will be,
orchestrated media plan by a particular section of the media that has sold its paper conscience.
no, is it
telling
orchestrated
you.
plan? There were no machinery of that nature.
It was not bought by anybody. There was no machinery bought by anybody. No equipment bought by anybody. Maritime equipment were bought by NIMASA, not by anybody, by NIMASA. We are very enlightened people, but we are equally very mischievous as a people.
In the Niger Deltans?
No, not Niger
Or
Delta.
Nigerians generally?
A few Nigerians. When politically things are there to favor them, they orchestrate lies and blackmail to target a section of a people. Tom Polo is mentioned. Tom Polo didn't buy any weapons. Tom Polo didn't do anything. NIMASA is statutory government body, bought maritime equipment. Tom Polo is not even a contractor. A company with interest, with people like Tom Polo and other prominent Nigerians whose names didn't come out now on this, are keeping the maritime waters safe and helping to raise IGR in this country.
Okay, but in keeping the water,
maritime, not
in
Tom
keeping
Polo,
the water
by
safe,
NIMASA.
in keeping the water safe, the other issues that have been raised concerning the Niger Delta and what the safety of the waterways there has been the issue of oil theft.
Oil theft.
Oil theft in the Niger Delta. That's according to the report.
Well, there is oil theft in the Niger Delta. It does not mean that oil theft is being perpetrated by Niger Delta people. I hope you do understand this.
Okay.
Oil theft is a very technical thing. It has international dimension to it. The market is international, the way we see it. Of course, the equipment can only be backed by very big wigs. People who have super money can only be involved in this. The international community, this matter has gone to the level where the Honorable Minister of Petroleum had to state this clearly in London, in the UK, in the US, that they must, even Mr. President had gone to the international community and demand for help. Because if you don't have the market, nobody will take our oil to nowhere. It won't happen. So it is too sophisticated a crime that is ongoing than to begin to think and attribute Niger Delta people, communities with poverty all over the place, to oil theft. Oil theft is an international crime. If we look exactly at what is happening, you will find out that a very severe cartel is in operation with international conspiracy. The supply and demand chain of it, only the international community will support Nigeria and Mr. President in dealing with that. So it is existing, not committed by Niger Delta people and communities. What the Niger Delta people, a few people in the Niger Delta are even involved in, when JTF get caught with some of them, you will find out that they are into 5-liter gallon, 2-liter gallon. That cannot take us to 400,000 barrels or 200,000 barrels a day. Clearly, an international oil theft cartel is in operation. So this is not in the lower water part. It is in the high seas.
Okay, and
in the international waters.
And are we making any headway in the fight?
Very serious headway is on. The Nigerian Navy, the JTF, is doing so well. In fact, NIMASA is in very serious success operations against oil theft. But for that, if you remember, there was a time oil theft took nothing less than, they reduced our production to nothing less than 2 million barrels. Now today we are talking about 2.250 million barrels per day. That clearly tells you that there is a combating attitude by the Nigerian military and MDAs like NIMASA to be doing what they ought to do statutorily to keep our waterways safe. We might not clean it up in just one day, but the federal government is giving a very serious battle through the Nigerian military that is doing so well, particularly the Navy and the JTF in the Niger Delta.
Okay. Oil theft on the one hand, and then vandalism, pipeline vandalism on the other hand. And we hear that huge amounts are being spent, and yet the power sector complains that supply of power is dwindling because of vandalism of pipelines in the Niger Delta.
Yeah, it is true. Let me also let you know this, that before the proclamation of amnesty and its acceptance by the Niger Delta ex-agitators, our production fell. Production, whether it's gas or crude, fell to 680,000 barrels per day from 2 million barrels per day. It was a very loud.
We were broke.
Yes, we were going for the broke. And at that point, the former Vice President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, now President GCFR of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, had to go to a militant camp, the most dreaded of them, called Camp 5, where Tompolo had sway. For God's sake, I have said this severally, and if you listen to Mr. President's brief, media brief, he also alluded to this. I was lucky to be one of the few persons that moved with him from Abuja to Osubi Airport, from Osubi to Escravos, from Escravos to the said Camp 5. The president didn't even have plastic chairs to sit down. They provided 3 concrete blocks here, 3 concrete blocks here, and placed a plank on top. Humble president that you have. Nobody will understand what this man means until his tenure ends in 2019, and another comes and you make comparative analysis. He sat down. All he wanted was not the comfort of his office. He wanted genuine commitment from the youths, and Tompolo led them and gave a benefit of doubt. From that moment, production rose to 2.1 million, 2.2. At a point in 2013, we rose to 2.6 million barrels in this country. Now, that is to tell you what amnesty program, spearheaded by Mr. President, then as Vice President. Yes, President Yar'Adua listened to him, but the military was there to attack the youths, the vandals, the genuine freedom fighters, and everybody in the Niger Delta. A red alert has been declared. But the president, then Vice President, had to step in very strongly. And this is exactly what some of us are saying, that a few leaders, critical leaders, political, community, religious leaders in the northern part must also do with respect to Boko Haram. That is what has not happened. The military can be everywhere. They will do their statutory job. But if community leaders do not provide the needed leadership for community, it will be difficult for the military to have easy success in the areas of operation. Community must cooperate with the military to provide the needed security for community. This is key. We had to come in at that time in 2009 to provide the needed peace for the Niger Delta. The military didn't provide it. The military provided law and order, but we supported what they were there to do. As a people, we saw that it was detrimental to our community, it was detrimental to our existence and identity, and we stepped in to provide peace. This is what is missing in the fight against Boko Haram. The moment we get that, this Nigerian military, that had always been the only fabric of this nation uniting us, politicians usually from 1960 to date, politicians have this ability of, when it has to do with contest and political power, tearing this country apart. But the military steps in always to keep us one, to keep us together. That is why I have very high regard for former military leaders who have contributed so much to this country. No matter what they say against even me as a person or my program, I would love to personally reach out to them and bring them to understanding with what we are doing.
Okay.
So yes, there is vandalism. Even now, it's affecting the power situation. It is. But let me also say this. Beyond people who are merely called vandals, there are also technical persons who have negative stakes in ensuring that Nigeria does not get the power situation right. There are people who are doing that. Some who have alternative power sale businesses in Nigeria. Those who are in generator businesses, for instance, in this country, those very huge generator businessmen in this country would always want a situation where generator is there for people to buy. Of course, these are commonplace stories that are valid. These are valid things. Some sponsor some level of vandalism in certain places. There are people who also politically don't want the power situation to be better. For instance, the permanent secretary, Ministry of Power, called me at a particular time to say that, Kingsley, I am very bothered. 2 weeks ago, from when he called me, that it was possible for Nigeria to reach 5,000 megawatts. But there has been vandalism in certain sectors of our gas pipeline. And I told him, please, let us meet, let's do all we can to make sure that we stop this as much as we can in the areas we can. There are some places you might not be able to do.
Mr. Kuku, if I may come in here.
So it takes the citizens to be committed to the growth of the power sector in this country. We must participate in all this. Government can't do it alone.
One of the essence, or one of the reasons why the amnesty program was brought forth was to ensure security of this national infrastructure.
No, it's not true. The amnesty program was not meant to take the
was not
responsibility
meant
of,
to. But then
it wasn't proclaimed for the purpose of taking responsibility from the Nigerian military and police.
No, it's not. I didn't say
just
so.
to pull them
to
out.
pull them out, so
And
that
they were so
ensure that the national infrastructure is to some extent secured by the institutions.
Do you know why? 30,000 Niger Delta youths alone were pulled out, and most of them are in various universities. In the UK alone, we have over 800 students in nothing less than 82 universities in the United Kingdom. We have over 300 of them in the United States. We have a Canadian university in Dubai, all over the world. In about 23 nations in the world, we have Niger Delta youths who are studying. Undergraduates, postgraduate studies are ongoing. In Nigeria, in 6 private
and all of them are
ex-agitators.
Of
course, they are part of the amnesty program. In Nigeria, in 6 private universities, we have over 2,000 Niger Delta youths. In Benedict University alone, I have 630 students on this program. In Benson Dausa University, I have over 578 students. In Novena, we have about 100 students. Leeds City University, Ibadan, I have over 150 something students. In Redeemers University, I have about 100. At Afeba Balola, I have 127 students. These students cannot be the ones that will go and vandalize anything. It's not the case. But you also must know that 30,000 is just a drop from the mass of the youths in the Niger Delta who are not part of the amnesty program. So some of them are bound to participate in some of these things.
Are you implying that they are the ones who are agitating now?
I am